Chapter 8:12. Under Zhang Xiaobao's strategy, even if the Tubo and Turkic tribes were reluctant to part with their livestock, they had no choice but to exchange them for Tang's banknotes so that they could buy weapons, food, and advanced technology. The banknotes that were not accepted by the people in the country suddenly had a market outside. Only a few places in the country actively responded to the issue of banknotes. Needless to say, Sanshui County was one of them. When the new currency was released, the people in the county treated it as a hard currency. Those who bought things with the new currency could even get a certain degree of discount. Apart from Sanshui County, there were also Buxin County and the nearby Xinsai County. These were all places that were directly related to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Not to mention Jili County, they had to use it even if they did not want to. Then there were Chongning County and Suzhou. These places were not far from the capital. The farthest place was Luzhou. The great Tang Bank had opened almost all over Tang, but there were still some places that could not be reached. First, it was far away, but this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that the population was small. When they opened a bank there, they found that no one needed it. If Luzhou did not develop, it would not have been possible to build several banks there. Currently, Luzhou could be said to be the most prosperous place apart from the capital. When it came to the lives of the people, even the people in the capital could only look up to it. According to Zhang Xiaobao, the capital's overall GDP was twice that of Luzhou. However, when it was put into the hands of an individual, the people in Luzhou were 5 times more than the people in the capital. Could be said that every family was rich. When the Great Tang Bank was being tested in the capital, they had arranged for people to follow the construction in Luzhou. Now, Luzhou's bank had become the designated place for all the foreign merchants to deposit and withdraw money. In fact, the people in Luzhou were almost between barbarism and civilization. At least, many officials in the capital thought so. When they mentioned Luzhou, there was a hint of contempt in their words, even though they knew the people in Luzhou were living a good life now. Every family had livestock, cars, and bicycles. Luzhou had a bicycle factory. Moreover, the roads were well repaired, so people could ride their bicycles when they went out. The only thing was that there was no rubber, and the wheels made of leather were easy to break. In addition to the abundant materials, there was also the progress in culture. Needless to say, all the children had to go to school. Even the adults who could not read and write had to go to night school. Even in such a place, there were still people who looked down on them. Sun Hua was one of them. When he arrived at Luzhou's dock by boat, he looked down at the busy people on the dock and said to a 13 or 14-year-old child beside him, "My son, this is Luzhou. It's thousands of miles away from the capital. Only those who have no other choice will live here. Otherwise, how can it compare to the prosperous capital? Remember, the world is as prosperous as this. Your life's ambition should be the capital." The child raised his head and looked at his father's face. He nodded vigorously, but when he looked down, he felt that this place was not much worse than the capital. He picked up the clairvoyance hanging in front of his chest and looked further into the distance. He said to his father in confusion, "My father, I don't know. Honorable father, the flow of people here is like shuttling back and forth. There are clusters of carriages and horses. Before entering the harbor, the shadows of the sails can be seen. Compared to the capital, it seems to be even better." The previous person really had some ability, but he was dealt with just like that. What a pity. After being refuted by his son, Sun Hua, as a father, really could not find an excuse to deny it. Originally, he just wanted to let his son know that the most promising place was the capital. He did not expect that he would use the wrong example. He reached out and took the clairvoyance away from his son. "Be careful not to break it. It's expensive. It's true that this place is prosperous, but it's too far away from the capital. It's difficult to be promoted. As for the origin of this prosperity, it has nothing to do with the previous provincial governor who dared to smuggle. If he didn't get greedy, he could have been transferred back to the capital and put in an important position after a year. Unfortunately, he only stayed steadily for 4 months before his mind became active. Zhang Shua, who helped him find a way, was almost implicated. He still doesn't know how powerful Lu Zhou's people are. Don't stretch out your hand or you will be caught. The child did not quite understand his father's words. He looked at the scenery again and asked, "Father, since we can arrange a good position after a year, why did you say this place is not good? Who built Lu Zhou's place?" Sun Hua was speechless by his son's question. Just now, he just wanted to emphasize the importance of the capital, but now he was stumped by the question. The officials here can get a good position in the capital, but it's better to get a good position in the capital directly. Think about this later. I won't tell you clearly today, but the people who built this place were sent to Luoyang to retire. Now you know Lu Zhou may not be a good place. In order to maintain his dignity, Sun Hua said a few words. After that, the child nodded sensibly, but the others were not willing to do so. The two people working at the dock who were building the gangplank for the ship looked at the person who spoke arrogantly with very unfriendly eyes. Their hands stopped moving, indicating that they were not going to continue building the gangplank. Before Sun Hua could react, he said to his son, "Although this place is good, it is not a blessed land. There is a lot of miasma in the forest, and hurricanes often come. The original official has used up all his luck. Otherwise he would be like me and work in the capital in the future." The gangplank that had just been built was removed. Then, Sun Hua saw one of the two gangplanks open his mouth and turn to the other people at the dock and shout, "Someone is talking bad about Provincial Governor Zhang. It's him." With a swish sound, the people who were working immediately stopped what they were doing and looked over at the same time. Sun Hua was startled. Just when he was wondering what had happened, the boatman who sent his family here stood beside him and asked in horror, "Lord Sun, what did you say about Provincial Governor Zhang? You'd better explain or I can't protect you." Sun Hua was stunned. Only then did he realize that he had said something wrong. He heard people talking bad about Lu Zhou, but he could not say anything bad about Zhang Zhong. He could praise him to the heavens, but no one would find trouble with him. Some people even found him pleasing to the eye and invited him to a meal. However, speaking bad about Lu Zhou usually did not end well. It's a misunderstanding. I'm talking about the previous governor, not Zhang Zhong. Provincial Governor Zhang built a good foundation, but the previous governor didn't know how to cherish it. Sun Hua did not have time to lose face in front of his son, so he quickly explained. Chapter 8:13. As the shouts came from the fast boat, the people at the dock chose to forget Sun Hua, the person who had just spoken rudely. They all looked at the sea behind the fast boat. Unfortunately, all they could see was seawater. Sun Hua, who had been forgotten, quietly wiped the sweat on his hand on his clothes. He began to feel curious again. His eyes followed the workers on the dock, but they were blocked by the mast. "Father, you should take office quickly. After the handover you will be the provincial governor here, the highest official. You don't have to worry about others disrespecting you." The child gently touched his father with his hand and gave a sensible idea. Sun Hua's father Weiwei was stunned. He regretted speaking too confidently to his son just now. After hesitating, he finally decided to teach his son to be an honest person and not to talk nonsense. "My son, you don't know. This is Lu Zhou, an extraordinary place. Even if I take office, if I speak ill of Zhang Zhong, I will still cause trouble. Judging from that person's shouts just now, Lu Zhou must have something new. Wait a moment. Maybe there will be more benefits." When the child heard that there was something good, his eyes blinked. He remembered what his father had said earlier and asked again, "Father, why can't I speak ill of Zhang Zhong? Didn't he go to Luoyang to retire?" Lower your voice. He has nothing to do in Luoyang for the time being, but his son and daughter-in-law have something to do. Zhang Xiaobao is about the same age as you, but he is the provincial governor of Jili province. He is slightly inferior to me in terms of rank, but his power is greater than mine. The reason why his rank is inferior is because Zhang made Luzhou an upper province. It is said that this place is under the control of the imperial court, but it is actually the territory of the Zhang family and the Wang family. I'm only here to stay for a year. When I leave office, I will return to the capital and get a lot of money. If you want to talk about idleness, you have to work hard. Sun Hua was finally willing to tell the truth. He was worried that if he did not let his son understand the situation, he would say or do something wrong when he went out for a stroll. If so, his career would become very bumpy. The child was really smart. After hearing his father's words, he rolled his eyes and said excitedly, "Father, I have an idea. The emperor certainly doesn't know that Luzhou only listens to the Zhang family and the Wang family. Otherwise, how could he let them go? I will write a letter and tell this matter to the emperor in the name of my father. When the time comes, Zhang Xiaobao will definitely be implicated. I have meritorious service. Maybe I can take over his position and be the governor of Jili province. I don't believe that I can't do what he does. Oh, my little ancestor, give up on this thought. You are not allowed to think about it in the future. This is not the way to be an official. It's good that you are not convinced, but you have to figure out why he is so good. Is the provincial governor something you can be? Do you know what the provincial governor is supposed to do? Not to mention the provincial governor. Even if I give you a secretary, you can't figure it out. There is only one Zhang Xiaobao in the Tang Empire. He was born with knowledge. If you really have the ability, I can also retire. If you still want to use that kind of conspiracy, I won't care about you anymore. Your brother is also not bad." Sun Hua was almost scared to death. After saying a lot, he looked at his son and sighed with emotion. The ignorant were fearless. How could Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan be compared with people of the same age? Not to mention people of the same age, even people who were a few generations older than them could not deal with them. How did the previous official get promoted? It was because Zhang Shua had offended the two of them. As a result, the security of Xinyuan province, which was originally very strict, was slightly lax. It was so lax that anyone who did not help would feel sorry for himself. Thus, the previous official could not resist the temptation and reached out. Not only did he lose his position, he also implicated Zhang Shua. This showed that when it came to politics, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could contend with the prime minister and even take advantage of him. Remember, don't reach out, Sun Hua muttered. It was unclear whether he was saying this to his son or to himself. The child was still a little unconvinced, but he was worried that his father would not help him, so he became much more obedient. While the father and son were conversing, the shadows of sails finally appeared on the path behind them. Sun Hua used his 1,000-li eye and saw 12 large ships that he had never seen before appear in his field of vision. Filled with curiosity, Sun Hua did not mention the matter of disembarking. The main reason was that the springboard had been removed. If he mentioned it now, it would cause the two dockside helpers to recall what had just happened. Through the 1,000-li eye, the ships did not seem very far, but it took a full hour for them to reach the docks. The crackling sounds of firecrackers resounded throughout the docks. The people on the ships cheered and waved their hands vigorously, giving off a festive feeling. Sun Hua thought for a moment, then fished out a string of copper coins from a hidden pocket in his sleeve. He shouted at a person not too far away and tossed the money in a line. "This little brother, may I ask what ship this is?" Sun Hua asked curiously. Perhaps it was because the return of the fleet made him happy, but that person reached out and caught the money. For the time being, he did not think about what Sun Hua had just said. While looking at the ships gradually approaching the docks, he introduced them to Sun Hua. "A fleet heading south. When we left, there were 12 ships. When we returned, there were still 12 ships. I wonder what they are carrying. This time Governor Zhang will definitely be very happy." Back then, it was Governor Zhang who came up with the idea of going south to take a look and bring back some good things. Now it has finally succeeded. Is it easy to go south? What could be on the ships? Sun Hua asked again. If it was easy to go, Then it wouldn't have been a year and a half. The ships are naturally filled with treasures. Perhaps the new governor will have other thoughts and be dealt with. The person on the docks tossed the copper coins in his hand as he spoke casually. No, definitely not. The new governor is not stupid. Even if 12 ships were filled with gold, the new governor would not want them. He would just treat them as iron plates plated with copper. Sun Hua assured with certainty. Oh, that's a pity. I haven't seen Governor Zhang for a long time. I originally wanted to get a few more governors and send Governor Zhang over when the imperial court has no more appointments. The person on the docks continued to speak the truth, not hiding anything at all. Sun Hua couldn't help but tremble. He no longer spoke. The child beside him took back the 1,000 li and looked toward the ship. Suddenly, he pointed at a person on the ship and asked with joy and curiosity, "What is that hanging on that person's body? It looks like a big cat but also like a small bear. It's alive and can move its eyes. Father, I want one for sister. I wonder where they got it. It's very interesting." Chapter 8:14. Sun Hua and his son were not the only ones who did not know what kind of animal it was. Even the people on the dock had never seen it before. The little thing was not big, and it looked cuter than a monkey when it was hanging on a human. Especially the little thing's expression. It always gave people a pitiful look. It would lie on the shoulder of the person standing at the bow of the ship, and its eyes would look around curiously and timidly from time to time, making people want to hold it in their arms. Wow, that thing's ears are so big. A group of children who came to play on the dock saw the person walking to the dock, and their eyes focused on him. A little girl who was holding a doll in her arms shouted. Not to mention girls, even boys would find this little thing interesting. If one looked closely, they would find that this little thing was not beautiful. However, its eyes, ears, and body posture were different from when it was together. What is it? Another little girl saw the person on the ship standing on the dock, so she came closer and asked. In fact, the person holding the little thing did not know what it was. He just followed the requirements of the Chamber of Commerce of the Zhang family and Wang family, who had great influence in Luzhou. No matter what strange things they encountered outside, they had to bring them back if they could. Therefore, they brought a group of these little things on the ship. Fortunately, before they left, the people of the Chamber of Commerce had told them that if they caught a plant, they had to bring back the soil of that place. If they caught an animal, they had to know what the animal ate and then bring back the food. If they caught a plant, they had to bring back the seeds. Even so, several of them died on the way. When he heard the question of the little girl, the person thought carefully and organized his words before he answered. "We found this thing on our way south. It looks like a bear, but its ears are bigger. It likes to stay on the tree and is willing to eat leaves. We named it Leaf Bear. This thing is timid and must not be scared. Others have never seen it before. In the future, someone might raise it as a treasure. When they know its habits, they will send it to the zoo in the capital." This person's explanation was quite detailed. At least, it was better than those who had never seen this animal. He even gave it a name. Who says others don't know? If Governor Zhang is here, he will definitely know. I'll go ask the people of the Chamber of Commerce. The little girl was not convinced. She squeezed through the crowd and ran towards the Chamber of Commerce. The person holding the little thing shook his head helplessly. Looking at the little girl's age, he knew that she had never seen Zhang Zhong before. When Zhang Zhong was here, the little girl was probably only 1 year old. But looking at the little girl's reaction just now, it was clear what kind of position Zhang Zhong had in her heart. It was too amazing. No matter how powerful the Zhang family and the Wang family were, how could they know something that they had never seen before? It seemed like Lu Zhou was really from the Zhang family and the Wang family. The people on the ship continued to move the items down. They were counting on these items for the harvest of this trip. If it wasn't for the Chamber of Commerce guaranteeing that all the items brought back by the Jiangnan merchants would be bought at a high price, they really didn't want to bring back a pile of useless items. The animals that looked like the little thing were also taken out of their cages. Some of them were looking around nervously with their eyes wide open, while others were sleeping. Just when many people were watching curiously, a person from the Chamber of Commerce came over with a thick book in his hand. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he glanced at the little thing and compared it with the picture of the tree on the colorful page. He nodded and said to the person holding the little thing, "Yes, this animal is called koala or koala. It likes to eat the leaves of several kinds of trees. It has a faint fragrance. It will only drink a little water when it is sick. Did you bring enough leaves of that eucalyptus? Did you bring back the seeds? Oh, there's a kind called rose eucalyptus that is the best. These little guys like to sleep all day long. Let me see, it said that they can sleep for 14 to 18 hours. Little young master and little miss will be very happy. Little young master and little young master will buy it. See, I told you. Governor Zhang will definitely know. What's so great about it?" The little girl who went to call them just now raised her small head with a look that said, "How dare you not believe me?" No one paid attention to the little girl's words. Those who were close to the Chamber of Commerce moved closer to the people from the Chamber of Commerce and looked at the colored picture on the page. Sure enough, the picture was of the little things. Even the leaves they ate were drawn. Below the notes were written about their habits. "That's amazing. Father, did you see that? The Zhang family and Wang family actually drew the things that just appeared in advance. How did they know?" Sun Hua's son withdrew his clairvoyance that happened to be able to see the situation from this angle and said to his father with a shocked expression, "Sun Hua was not an immortal. How could he know how the Zhang family and Wang family knew what they had just seen?" Hearing his son's question, he pretended to be profound and said, "This is the ability of others. If you want to be like others, you have to study hard and have a good memory. There's always someone better than you. This is the truth. Do you understand?" "Understand. Father, I will definitely work hard." The little boy didn't understand. Neither did his father. Hearing his father's reprimand, he immediately agreed seriously. At this time, the things on the ships began to be moved down continuously. After wandering outside for a year and a half, they finally returned home. Everyone resisted the urge to take a good rest and seriously did the last thing they wanted to do. It could be said that they had suffered a lot along the way. There were several times when they almost died at sea. They had eaten all their food and could only eat fish. If it weren't for the fact that the Chamber of Commerce of the Zhang family and Wang family provided them with a thing that could make fresh water out of seawater by drying it under the sun, they would have already died in the vast sea. After another part of the things were unloaded from the ships, the people from the Chamber of Commerce stared at a pile of wood and said happily to the people on the ships that had just returned, "Good, you even brought back so much red sandalwood. This time you really made a lot of money." Chapter 8:15. The return of the 12 luxurious cargo ships at Luzhou's dock set off a new wave of enthusiasm for setting sail. Adhering to the theory of the bold die of overeating and the timid die of starvation, many people who originally did not dare to set sail were now eager to give it a try. Before the goods of the 12 ships were all unloaded into the warehouse at the dock, the merchants from all over Luzhou rushed to the dock as fast as they could. One of them wanted to see what the goods were and how much they were worth. The other was to find out where the fleet had gone and what kind of danger they had encountered. The merchants of the 12 ships were also praised by countless people. While they were happy, they could not help but feel like they had survived a disaster. Master Li, have a safe journey. I wonder if you have time these days. We have reserved a banquet at the flagship store of Ocean Cloud Inn in the state capital. We hope Master Li will come. As the leader of the 12 ships, Li Mian had just gotten off the ship and had not even exchanged a few words with the people of the Chamber of Commerce when someone approached him and extended an invitation. Hearing other people's words and looking at the envious and jealous gazes of others, Li Mian suddenly felt proud and elated. When he first rented a ship here with others, many people scolded him for being a fool. Before setting sail, he had even heard many people belittling him. Now that he was back, he thought, life is really unpredictable. After carefully sizing up the person who had invited him, Li Mian knew this person was the one who had not heard bad things about him. He shook his head and smiled back at the other party. I'm tired from the journey. I really don't have time these days. Why don't we wait for a month and talk about other things after I've rested up? Master Li, don't worry if you're tired. I've already prepared a place to rest. Tell us, where did the fleet go? We want to go and see the vast world out there. This person was still unwilling to give up. It was as if he did not hear Li Mian's rejection. Li Mian was a little impatient. He replied flatly, no need. I've already arranged a place to rest. The wind is strong and the waves are high. How can we remember the way? Besides, we are not prepared to set sail, let alone draw a map. Excuse me everyone, please make way. I'll pay for the ship. What he said was exactly what many people had said before they set out to sea. And now it was used to refute what had happened before. As for where they were going, what kind of resources there were, and what they had to be careful of on the road, they definitely couldn't tell others so easily. That was information that he had risked his life to obtain. Why should it be given to others for free? Those who wanted to make a fortune would rent their own boat and go out to sea. They would also experience what it meant to die 9 times out of 10. As soon as Li Mian finished speaking, the people from Lu Zhou's Chamber of Commerce surrounded the area to prevent outsiders from getting close. The person in charge of the Chamber of Commerce held the booklet in his hands as he discussed the details with Li Mian. Boss Li, congratulations on your safe return and bringing back so many good things. Should we talk about the rental fee and the price of the goods? The person in charge asked Li Mian as he checked the items they had brought down from the ship. Li Mian nodded a few times and replied, Manager Zhang, we've discussed the matter of the ship before we came back. We want to buy it. Although it's damaged in many places, it's our first time on such a long journey. We can't return it to the Chamber of Commerce. Manager Zhang, please take a look at the goods and see if they're worth the money. The 12 ships were not given out for free. Li Mian and the others came from Jiangnan. Before they rented the ships, they had to use their properties as collateral. After they returned from the sea, they would use the price of the goods as collateral. If there was more, they would be refunded. They were given 3 years. If they did not return in 3 years, the properties used as collateral would belong to Lu Zhou's Chamber of Commerce. Now that all 12 ships had returned safely, Li Mian did not plan to continue renting ships. Considering that he would be going out in the future, he might as well buy them. He could save a lot of money in the future. However, he was not sure if the goods were worth the money. He was a little worried. The person in charge, Manager Zhang, had already seen the various goods brought back by the fleet. Based on the booklet made by the young master and young lady, he knew that these goods could be exchanged for more than 20 ships. It was not that the goods were valuable. The rarer something was, the more valuable it was. The first time they returned, there were many things that Great Tang did not have. Not to mention the other things, just the koala. In Great Tang, no one had even heard of it, let alone seen it. Naturally, many people were willing to pay a sky-high price to buy it. As for how the young master and young lady knew, was there even a need to ask? They were immortals, there was nothing that they did not know. With this thought in mind, Manager Zhang said to Li Mian, Boss Li, according to the contract when you rented the ships, in addition to the goods, you have to tell the Chamber of Commerce everything you saw and heard on the way and present the sea map you drew. As long as what you say is true and the map is true, you can exchange these 2 things for 4 ships. Furthermore, the next time you go out to sea, you can get new equipment from the Chamber of Commerce, such as the equipment used to collect fresh water on your ship. According to the previous agreement, the goods must be handled by the Chamber of Commerce. There are 2 methods. One is that the Chamber of Commerce gives you a price. Don't worry, it is enough for you to buy a ship. The Chamber of Commerce does not know how much it will sell for. If it sells for more, you have to agree. The other method is that the Chamber of Commerce will not buy it directly, but will help you contact other buyers. In the end, the Chamber of Commerce will take 40% of the net profit. Don't worry, it is not the gross profit. Go back and discuss it. Oh, the goods do not include animals. The animals and plant seeds you brought back must be given to the Chamber of Commerce unconditionally. We will take over now and write a letter to inform the master in the capital. After manager Zhang finished explaining the conditions, he did not rush Li Mian to make a decision immediately. He leaned back in his chair and flipped through the book in his hand. In his heart, he already knew where the animals would go. The big animals would naturally be sent to the Tang dynasty zoo. As for the small animals such as koalas, Xiaobei and the others would probably have new playmates. This thing was really too cute, especially when it was in someone's arms. It turned its head to look elsewhere and then timidly turned its face back, looking like it was wronged. One could not help but want to get one to hug. At this time, Li Mian had already excused himself and went to discuss with the merchants he was working with. He was very clear in his heart that since he had signed the contract, he could not go back on it. The sea map and the key anchorage had to be handed over. If it was another shipyard, perhaps the rental of the ship could be faked. However, for the shipyards of the Zhang family and Wang family, that was definitely not possible. Not to mention whether the other party would be suspicious. Just the fact that the other party immediately took out the map and compared the little thing, which he did not even know the name of, showed that they knew a lot of things. Yes, a lot. If he angered them, the consequences would not only be suppression in terms of business. If they were unhappy, they might even send a few gunships after him when he sets sail again. Yes, I have to follow the contract. There are some benefits that cannot be taken advantage of, Li Mian reminded himself in his heart. Only then did he feel relieved. The other merchants who were stopped outside were now both regretful and excited. They regretted that they did not work with Li Mian to set sail. They were excited because if others were to make money, they would be able to make a profit too. Just like when they were on Xinyuan Island, the Zhang family and Wang family were indeed impressive. They actually knew that there was a large area outside and that there were many things that the Great Tang did not have. They originally thought that the Great Tang had everything. Thus, while Li Mian was discussing with others on how to cooperate with the merchant association, a storm was brewing in the sea. At the edge of the desert near the Jinchuan, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were calculating the number of animals they received this time and estimating how much profit they would make. Xiaobao, it seems like the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate will have to pay a higher price this time. You actually sold the operation model of the bank to them. They can't help but be tempted. You are really too evil. After calculating the accounts, Wang Wan realized that not only did they not lose money this time, they even made a lot of money. Just the animals alone were enough to cover the expenses of the 40,000 people along the way. There were also the local medicinal herbs and slaves. This could be considered a real profit. More importantly, the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate had already accepted the Great Tang's paper currency and acknowledged its legitimacy. This way they would have a stable foreign exchange channel in the future. When the time came, they could use the animals they obtained from the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate to increase the acceptance of the country's currency. This could be said to be killing many birds with one stone. Of course, the most impressive thing was not how much money they earned this time. It was that the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate understood the importance of a country having its own currency system. This so-called currency system was actually a bank. The success of the Great Tang Bank had caused many of the surrounding small countries to be envious. This was especially so for the people who were emperors. They realized that ever since the Great Tang had a bank, Li Longji's treasury had started to fill up. Who wouldn't want to have money in their hands? This was especially so when this money could be used to build a place and fight a war. Yes, fighting a war was the most frightening thing. Once Li Longji had money, who could guarantee that he wouldn't make a move against them? Under such circumstances, Zhang Xiaobao wrote down the operation model of the bank and wanted to sell it to the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate as a commodity. The price he set was extremely high. After Kei Tichin and Susan Chide found out about this matter, they were worried for a period of time. In the end, they were willing to pay a higher price in exchange. They were really worried that if they didn't have such a bank in their country, when Li Longji raised more money to fight a war, their country wouldn't have the strength to retaliate. Of course, what Wang Wan praised was not that the people from both sides were willing to spend money to buy the bank, but what they did after they had enough money. Zhang Xiaobao also understood what Wang Wan was referring to. He turned to the last page of the account book and said, "This is called being in line with the international market. I'm a good person. I'm helping them to gather money. You're lying with your eyes wide open. Not to mention me, even Xinair knows what you're planning to do. You want to start a real financial war with them after their banks are established. This is the temptation of the devil. You gave them hope and let them open Pandora's box. It's just like asking people to go overseas to search for new places and obtain more things. The benefits are accompanied by risks. When you asked people to go out to sea, you said it very nicely. Why didn't you organize a fleet yourself? I don't know if any of them can come back alive. This is the sea. When it breeds life, it also devours life." As Wang Wan spoke, she thought of the merchants who were encouraged to go out to sea. She hoped that they could come back alive and bring back more good things. Just as Wang Wan mentioned this matter, the pigeon that was trying its best to fly had already arrived in Izhou. It received Shui Yun, who was sending letters back and forth, and put the letters on Shui Yun. Then, it flew towards the edge of the desert. In the palace of Tubo, Zuzan Chide was holding a piece of paper that Ilua had just exchanged for with a lot of resources. He was reading word by word. Beside him was Princess Jincheng. Now, her status was obviously much higher than before. The entire harem of Tubo had almost become her world. No one dared to compete with her anymore. Everyone was afraid that if they provoked her, the Tang Empire would take revenge. If it was in the past, no matter how powerful the Tang Empire was, no matter how tough Li Longji was. After all, it was very troublesome for the Tang Empire's army to attack. They were usually passive and would not take the initiative to attack. But ever since that cuckoo demon fiend appeared, everything had changed. No one could guess the true thoughts of a child. Perhaps it could be said that children were never so stable. If they were happy today, they would laugh. If they were unhappy tomorrow, they would cry. Whether they could attack or when they would attack had nothing to do with the thoughts of Li Longji and the other officials. Zuzan Chide also knew about the recent situation in the harem. He had even added fuel to the fire once. There was no helping it. Who told the desert to station 40,000 soldiers? This is the method of the Great Tang Bank. Good, very good. Why didn't anyone in my court think of it? This way, merchants will come and go frequently. Every transaction will have to pay a tax to the Great Tang, and Li Longji will have more and more money in his hands. Nuanu, when you return to the Great Tang this time, you must remember to ask more about the disadvantages of the bank. I'm worried that Zhang Xiaobao will give me something that I can't see through. If I do as he says, it will bring me a lot of trouble. He and Wang Wan will not give up on killing me. Zuzan Chide flipped through a few pages and saw an introduction written by Zhang Xiaobao, describing the strengths and weaknesses of the bank. Of course, those weaknesses did not seem to be anything special. As he continued reading, Zuzan Chide could not understand. There were many technical terms in the book, and this was not his forte. The only thing he knew was that Zhang Xiaobao would not be so kind. Even if the Tubo had paid a great price, Zhang Xiaobao might have set a few traps. Even if he returned to the Great Tang, no one would tell him this. He could only rely on Li Nuanu. What else could Princess Jincheng say? She was already married to the Tubo. Since Zuzan Chide mentioned it, she had to help him ask. What made her even happier was that Zuzan Chide's words meant that she could return to the Great Tang to take a look. She thought that she would have to stay in the Tubo for the rest of her life. She did not expect that she would have the chance to return. This time, no matter what, she had to stay for a while. Or perhaps, she could look for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to discuss and see if she could return to visit her parents every once in a while. Thinking of this, Princess Jincheng saw that Zuzan Chide was still waiting for her reply. She quickly said, "Zuzan Chide, you can rest assured. Nuanu will definitely help to ask about the key points. I believe that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan will tell Nuanu. Don't ask the two of them. I heard that the two of them are not on good terms with Zhang Shua. You have to think of a way to ask Zhang Shua and Wu Huifei. That woman had once made a move against the great Tang Bank. It's a pity that her methods were not good enough. Not only was she seen through, she even allowed Zhang Xiaobao to take the opportunity to open up a better bank. Zuzan Chide, who had collected a lot of information on the great Tang, immediately stopped Princess Jincheng when he heard that she wanted to ask Zhang Xiaobao. Wasn't that just waiting to be cheated? The only people in the Great Tang who were not on good terms with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were Zhang Shua's faction and Wu Huifei. Ever since Empress Wang regained favor, anyone with a discerning eye could see that Wu Huifei had been thinking of ways to deal with the Zhang and Wang families. However, the two families were too stable. Even Li Longji was biased towards them, causing Wu Huifei to fail time and time again. However, if Zuzan Chide suggested to work with them, they might be able to gain other benefits. Princess Jincheng nodded her head and agreed. She sighed in her heart. Sometimes she did not know what she should do. The conflict between the two sides seemed to have put her in the middle. Zuzan Chide took a few more glances at the book in the bank. He rubbed his sore eyes and said to Princess Jincheng, "This time there probably won't be anything good over there. If anyone asks you about the specific situation of Tubo, you must not tell them. This slave will remember." Princess Jincheng nodded her head. Only then did Zuzan Chide's thoughts settle. The one who was equally vexed was Commissioner Quebec. Don't look at how the current ruler of the Turks was a Mogilian. The person in charge was Commissioner Quebec. He controlled the army and naturally controlled the entire Turks. He really wanted to personally go to the Great Tang to take a look at the sword meet on Mount Hua. However, he did not dare to do so. If he controlled the army and something happened, he would lose everything. Thus, he could only let a Mogilian go personally. At the same time, he was very worried. If Li Longji supported a Mogilian and helped him take over his military power, it would be difficult for him to do so. This matter was not over yet. Now there was the problem of a bank. The spies sent to the Great Tang had already sent back more than one report, describing the various benefits of a bank. It would allow Li Longji to collect a lot of taxes and make the Great Tang even more prosperous. Now that the method had been bought back, he did not know if it was true or not. Seemed like the bank was just a few simple methods. However, Commissioner K was very clear that it was not so simple. If something went wrong, the entire Turks might be implicated. Thus, he came to a Mogilian's place and said to a Mogilian who was about to set off, "When you go to Tang, it's best if you can get in touch with the Tubo people. Tell them that we are willing to cooperate with them in terms of military and bank. If they can find out about the bank's problems, we are willing to pay the corresponding price." In truth, a Mogilian did not want to go. If he was stopped, he would lose his current position. However, he had no other choice. If he did not go, Li Longji would have an excuse to attack the Turks, and the surrounding countries would not help him. With this thought in mind, Mogilian hastily said, "Have someone make a copy of the thing that Zhang Xiaobao sold to us. When I bring it to the Great Tang, I will compare it with the Tubo people to see if it is the same. I also want to bring more warriors. Since it's the sword meet on Mount Hua, it will be a martial competition. We can only win and not lose." While the Tubo people and the Turks were thinking of their own methods, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan received a letter from Lu Zhou. They really came back. They came back very quickly. A year and a half is enough for a round trip. They got koalas. Did they go to Australia? That's not close to here. We have to go around Malaysia. The letter that a pigeon can carry is too small. It only wrote a few things that we need the most and did not mention anything else. I wonder if there are kangaroos. Yes, ask them to send the koalas quickly. Koalas are not easy to raise. Also, the leaves that they brought back. If the seeds can't keep up with the koalas' eating speed, they will starve to death. Zhang Xiaobao read the letter and imagined the scenery of the places that the merchants had been to. He was a little yearning. Wang Wan was also very happy. It was good as long as someone went there. Even if it was only to Malaysia, it was fine. The places along the way had a lot of resources. There were spices, copper, gold, and good trees. Anyway, there were countless of them. Good, send the koalas over for Xiaobei and the others to play with. It will be very interesting for the children to hold the koalas. I'm just afraid that the koalas will be killed by Xiaobei. Forget it, life and death are predestined. We have to go back soon, otherwise, we won't be able to make it in time for the new year. You write a letter to Emojilian and Zuzan of Chida to urge them to go with us. Also, we have to think of a way to make them stay here. We can't go back now. We have to wait until the population in the north of Hebei province decreases. It would be best if we can directly incorporate their army. When the matters in the north of Hebei province are settled, even if they all go back, they won't be able to do anything. Wang Wan had never held a koalas with her own hands. Imagining the scene when the time comes, the corner of her mouth revealed a trace of a smile. Zhang Xiaobao touched his face with his hand. Yeah, but Tuyu is really not easy to deal with. I guess he has thought of something. After all, they have no way to contact the outside world for a long time. When they come out, I think they will arrange for someone to send a message every once in a while. Chapter 8:16. Lard had not been having a good time recently. His camp of more than 2,000 people was constantly shifting to the west, and they were almost out of the desert. It was also difficult to collect drinking water. There was no running water and they could not drink it. He could only watch as his subordinates became listless, unable to think of a better idea. Besides the problem of water, there was also the problem of food. Damn that Zhang Xiaobao. He's doing this on purpose. He's definitely doing this on purpose. When Lard was preparing to eat early in the morning, his subordinates came looking for him. There was a problem with the food. The fish that he had spent a great deal of money to trade for from Tubo had a layer of fat floating on it. It would have been fine if it had been butter, but the problem was that it was clearly lard. The live fish in the barrel seemed to like the smell of oil very much. They gathered where there was oil, occasionally pecking at it, causing the oil to spread over the entire barrel and glow in the sunlight. On the way back after the trade, we ran into patrolling Great Tang cavalry. A few of them threw large chunks of lard over, saying that they were careless and slipped. A duo-eater in charge of transporting the food explained to Lard, upon which Lard let out a thunderous roar. Lard could only give this sort of evaluation. Despicable. The Grand Great Tang actually dared to mess with his food. Go find something else to eat. These throw them away. Lard helplessly looked at those lively and cheerful fish, waved his hand, and returned to his tent to fret over the matter. The other duo-eater silently went about their business. In recent days, they had already lost the confidence to continue staying here. Sometimes when they slept at night, they would feel that coming here was a mistake. Not only had they gained nothing, they had also sacrificed many things. When they had first come, they had wanted to establish a forward station next to the Great Tang to provide assistance to those who would come later. This desert was very good. There were Tubo, Turks, and Great Tang. The three factions had fought here to create a gap for outsiders, but in the end, Zhang Xiaobao of the Great Tang had tied them down. They could not fight, but they were unwilling to leave. If it was Zhang Xiaobao who sent people to beat them up once or twice, he could find an excuse to leave. However, Zhang Xiaobao had been living in peace, except that they would occasionally throw things from the pigs. For example, pig hair, pig dung, and pig blood were thrown into the wind every day. Even if they didn't look, they could smell it. The camp had no choice but to move again and again. How could you do this? Even if two countries are going to war, you have to be a little more magnanimous. Look at you, you've been scheming since you were young. What will you do when you grow up? Zhang Xiaobao was giving Xiao Bei and the others a political lesson in the camp. The matter of the pig's blood and pig's dung was done by Xiao Bei and the others. It was said that when attacking the enemy, they had to save them. Xiao Bei took the lead. As for who gave her the idea, it wasn't important. At this time, she was listening to her brother attentively, trying to understand the spirit of his words. I didn't know what you did until today. Otherwise, I would have come to talk to you long ago. What attacked the enemy, they had to save them. Your little plan was not bad, but your methods were very vile. If others knew that you were my younger siblings, they would laugh at me. Zhang Xiaobao's face was dark as he continued to teach the children. Xiao Bei lowered her head and looked like she was admitting her mistake. When she heard her brother's words, she curled her lips. She didn't believe that her brother only found out today. It had already been half a month. Isn't it because you think that we did well? You didn't do it. Jealousy, pure jealousy. Xiao Bei, what are you muttering about? Xiao Bei, who had just muttered a sentence, was discovered by Zhang Xiaobao. No, I'm not muttering. I have a toothache, so I'm grinding my teeth. Brother, please continue. Xiao Bei shook her head, refusing to admit it. Zhang Xiaobao snorted and said, "Don't be unconvinced when I say that you didn't do well. Look at the situation now. Can't you see? That's because we are strong and the enemy is weak. We have to pay the smallest price for the greatest results. What did you do? Can't the pig's blood be used to make blood tofu? Can't the pig's dung be used as fertilizer? There's even pig skin on the lard. They usually like to eat mixed pig skin, so how can they bear to throw it away? Besides, the wind here doesn't blow in a fixed direction. If it blows away the many cannibals, our camp will have a smell. Aren't you ashamed? Are these my Zhang Xiaobao's younger siblings? You're a joke. Why don't you go upstream to the river where they get water and wash the pig's intestines and hand them to me later? I can fry the intestines for you. You actually wasted it. Why do I, Zhang Xiaobao, have such stupid younger siblings? Today's matter needs to be summarized. Everyone will write a self-reflection later. You must recognize your mistakes and correct them. Do you understand? Xiao Bei lowered his head even more. He suddenly turned around and glared at a guard in the crowd. It seemed that this was the young guard's idea. Xiao Yuan also had an expression of deep realization on his face. Han Xianfeng and the others who were not far away looked at each other. At the beginning, they really thought that Zhang Xiaobao was going to talk to Xiao Bei and the others and ask them to be more aboveboard. At this moment they finally understood. How was this teaching his younger siblings to learn? He was clearly guiding his younger siblings to lower the cost of their schemes. Xiao Bei obediently took 2 steps forward. His eyes were red and tears were welling up in his eyes. Brother, I know I was wrong. I didn't eat so many fried pig intestines. Now that I think about it, my heart aches. Also, I didn't use much pig skin to cook the jelly. I will definitely learn from this in the future. And it's good that you recognize your mistakes. You are still young. Remember, when you are strong, you have to use the smallest price to achieve the best goal. Disperse. I see that you have prepared a lot of pig trotters. When it's time to shave them, go upstream and roast them. Throw them into the river after they are roasted. Zhang Xiaobao looked gratified at his younger siblings who were willing to correct their mistakes. After comforting them, he even gave them some guidance. Under the admiring gazes of his younger siblings, he left to find Wang Wan to discuss how to make a breakthrough. Today you are only allowed to eat half of your lunch and dinner. Think about it carefully. How much do you think you missed? You even made my brother personally come over to teach you. I am very angry. Xiao Bei turned around and complained to the innocent-looking guards. The people sent by Zhu Zan of Tubo, Chida, were also watching from the side. They originally wanted to see how Zhang Xiaobao would educate his younger siblings. Now that they understood, they didn't care about the uncomfortable feeling of cold sweat sticking to their bodies. They hurriedly went back to write a letter and had someone send it back quickly. They told Zan Pu to be careful, very, very careful. Wang Wan also heard how Zhang Xiaobao had lectured Xiao Bei and the others. When she saw Zhang Xiaobao swaying back, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She said, "Xiao Bao, you just did that? What kind of education do you want to educate Xiao Bei and the others?" Hee, it's just a joke. They are children after all. I will play with them. Anyway, the one who loses is not me. They can eat more people and suffer. It's a pity that there are no good chilies. You can't make Mao Shui Wang with chilies. Zhang Xiaobao didn't seem to care at all. You are provoking ethnic conflicts. Wang Wan put the blame on him. Which ethnic group provokes ethnic conflicts? There isn't one yet. Who should I pick? Come, let's discuss how to deal with Kutuyu. We have less than 3 days before we set off. Zhang Xiaobao no longer put his thoughts on the more than 2,000 people. He began to think about how to make Kutuyu lead the troops back to the Song-Mo Commander-in-Chief's office. At the very least, it had to be delayed until next year's spring plowing. At that time, even if Kutuyu wanted to do something, there wouldn't be any resources available. Didn't you say you wanted to arrange an assassination? I think this idea is fine. Wang Wan mentioned Zhang Xiaobao's idea. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and regretted. So that's what you were thinking. After scolding Xiaobei and the others today, I changed my mind. Not only do we have to let the children know how to save resources, the adults should also set an example. If we arrange an assassination, the chariot will be ours, the manpower will be ours, and the crossbows will also be ours. Using the smallest price to exchange for the biggest benefit will not be laughed at by Xiaobei and the others. Therefore, I decided to find Kutuyu for a meal and treat him to some buns. At that time, we will bring their troops back together. Leaving them here will consume too much money every day. We will spend too much money on transportation. The slaves we bought here will be enough to support us. Chai Zuzan agreed to go to the capital, and Emoji Lian also agreed. However, they will not go with us. We will set off the day after tomorrow. The day of departure arrived. Kutuyu waited for General Kutuyu to fall ill after eating a few buns. Just when Kutuyu suspected that Zhang Xiaobao was up to something bad, Zhang Xiaobao didn't make any moves. He didn't even ask about the matter of military authority. The 40,000-strong army set off, bringing up layers of sand and dust as they moved towards the place where the ships were. There was still a group of people who left to return to Yizhou. They were the relatives of Zhang Gang and Zhang Feng. Chong, who had been invited to visit his children. He had just arrived the day before yesterday. After hearing his children reciting poems, performing dances and writing, he was so happy that he slapped his son's head several times in succession. After playing with them for 2 more days, he finally reluctantly bid farewell. He left behind a sentence for his children to learn well and left without looking back. Ojilian set off in advance. He wasn't willing to move with Zhang Xiaobao's large group. That wouldn't be the sword meet on Mount Hua. He would be escorted. Of course, even if he didn't go with them, he wouldn't use the name of the sword meet on Mount Hua. He would use the excuse of going to the capital to pay tribute. He didn't dare to talk about the sword meet with Li Longji. At the same time, Zhu Zanqi arranged the matters in Tubo and set off with Princess Jincheng. His speed was neither fast nor slow. He followed behind Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's group. There was a day's journey in between. Scouts were sent out in all directions, reporting every hour. They had to carefully watch the path that Zhang Xiaobao's troops had taken. There was no other way. They had been frightened by the information sent back by their subordinates. Even children like Xiao Bei could recognize the mistakes made in scheming, let alone the adults. With the departure of the great Tang's group, the Duogu people who hadn't eaten or slept well for a few days finally heaved a sigh of relief. Then they were at a loss. The 40,000-strong army had left the desert, and a few thousand people had come to set up camp. They couldn't go back at all. What worried them the most was that the people who came later wanted to carry out the scheme to the end. Lalda thought about it and felt that he wouldn't be of much use if he stayed here. He might as well go back early and send more troops next time. Although the road wasn't easy, he had to vent his anger. Everything passed by calmly like this. The people at Pengzhou Pass felt a little regretful. They thought that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would have a big fight. They didn't expect that there would be a feeling of powerlessness. Those who had such thoughts were usually soldiers. They were hot-blooded. The people who were marshals had different thoughts. They were most in favor of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's method. This was what it meant to subdue the enemy without fighting. With the 40,000-strong army, the trouble in the north of Hebei province was solved. The Tujue and Tubo problem was solved. The Duogu people spent a lot of money but didn't get anything in the end. Paper money started to circulate in Tubo and Tubo. They also exchanged a lot of livestock and slaves. Sure enough, a good fighter has no illustrious achievements. In the capital, in Xingqing Palace, after Li Longji received the news of Zhang Xiaobao's return, he read the letter again and again. Finally, he said to Gao Lishir, who was beside him. Gao Lishir was also happy. This time, Zhang Xiaobao didn't use a lot of money. At least, he didn't use the money from the national treasury. As for the money used by Xiaobao himself, he would probably ask for the corresponding policies. Good son. Thinking like this, Gao Lishir said modestly, "Your Majesty is wrong. It's all petty tricks that can't be shown in public." Well, it's petty tricks. It's petty tricks that solved the problem in the north of Hebei province. It's petty tricks that forced Zuzan Chide and Moji Lian to come to the capital to pay tribute. It's petty tricks that planted a deeper hidden danger for Tubo and Tujue. Starting tomorrow, all the smart people in the court should give me some petty tricks like Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Li Longji was glowing. It seemed that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan took people on a trip as if they were playing, but the result was unimaginable. If this was considered petty tricks, then there was no smart person in the world. Gao Lishir had always heard the emperor praise Xiaobao and Cuckoo, so he had long been immune to it. He followed Li Longji's words and said, "I think the only good thing is that they didn't start a real war. Otherwise, it would be a waste of people and money. I wonder what kind of sword competition Xiaobao wants to have by inviting them in the name of your Majesty. Could it be that they want to compete to see who has better swordsmanship?" Gao Lishir was very happy when he talked about this. After Zhang Xiaobao went there, the court had passed a resolution. If Wang Wan really sent troops to deal with Tujue and Tubo, the court would send troops to the border of the other side to provide reinforcements. When fighting Tubo, the Tujue dared to move, so they had to send troops. When fighting Tubo, it was the same. They would not allow Wang Wan to fight on two fronts, even if they knew that she could do it. This was not a problem of ability, but a problem of the Tang Empire's attitude. Fortunately, they did not fight. The two of them used a few tricks to extinguish the flames of war that were about to rise. Now, other than Xinlua and Japan, the surrounding countries were basically stable. What they had to see was what Xiaobao would do when he found the Tufan and Turkic people. Li Longji was also thinking about this matter. His name had been falsely used. In a situation where he should be angry, he couldn't get angry. He could still distinguish between public interest and private interest. Zhang Xiaobao did not use his name to gain benefits for himself. Although he couldn't see it even if he gained benefits, at least others couldn't criticize him. Xiaobao hasn't written a letter to talk about the specifics. Li Longji was also curious about the sword meet on Mount Hua. It sounded good, but he didn't know how to do it. Gao Lishir replied, "No, Xiaobao didn't put his thoughts on Mount Hua. It seems that the sword meet has already been considered. When he comes back we will know." In a recent letter, Xiaobao mentioned that he wants the imperial court to help share the burden. Before winter comes, we will increase the number of cargo ships on the Jing River. Fortunately, when they pass by the Jing River, they will block the river. As Gao Lishir spoke, he took out another letter. This was a letter from home. However, he first mentioned that he would wait for some time before writing another letter to Li Longji. Gao Lishir was actually not willing to let the emperor read his letters because the emperor always snatched his things. As expected, when Li Longji took the letter and read it, he didn't first mention blocking the river so that 40,000 people could pass by the small river, which was the river from Sanshui County. Instead, he pointed at the words on the letter and asked Gao Lishir, "Is the bone marrow of this yak really better than that of a normal yak? It can strengthen the body and bones." "Think so?" Gao Lishir replied. "Well, then we will help Lishir take care of a part of it. When we return, we will write a letter to ask Xiaobao and the others the best way to eat it." Li Longji took care of Gao Lishir. What else could Gao Lishir say? Just give it to him. Ever since Xiaobao and Cuckoo started to give him things, The emperor had developed a habit of giving him something every time. It wasn't like this in the past. Li Longji had received something, so he brought up other things in the letter. But suddenly you fell ill again. Does he want to stay behind and walk slowly? Xiao Bao wants to let 40,000 people enter the small river from Dingping. I don't know if they can withstand it. If 40,000 soldiers cause trouble, it won't be good. Your Majesty, in addition to the soldiers and horses in Fenzhou, you can also send the soldiers and horses in Jizhou. I believe that Xiao Bao will solve this problem. Xiao Bao can't let them enter the capital. Otherwise, it will be no different from an army at the gate. This subject will write a letter to ask about the details. Gao Lishir was also very afraid of the 40,000 people. He was afraid that they would suddenly cause trouble, which would be difficult to clean up. On the Yellow River, Zhu Zonqi's fleet had surpassed Zhang Xiaobao's fleet. It was not that Zhu Zonqi was fast, but that Zhang Xiaobao's fleet was too slow. To be precise, the speed of the ships was slow, but the ships carrying a large number of soldiers were not slow. There were many sick people on the slow ships. Among them, Kutuyu was the most seriously ill. Now, it was not just his stomach that was uncomfortable, but his whole body was not comfortable. Originally, he had a bad stomach, but when he was on the river, he finally contacted someone from the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office. After he heard the news, he really fell ill. It was said that at that time, blood kept flowing out of his nose, which made his already weak body worse. General Kutuyu, are you better? I'm here to give you something to eat. Steamed egg lamb. Try it. I added some salt to give you more salt. Otherwise, your body will be even weaker. Zhang Xiaobao carried a tray in his hand. On the tray was a large bowl of steamed eggs and lamb. The steamed eggs in the bowl were very tender and pleasing to look at. He walked into Kutuyu's cabin and said with concern. Kutuyu looked at Zhang Xiaobao blankly. When Zhang Xiaobao put down the tray, he asked Zhang Xiaobao in a weak voice. Provincial Governor Zhang, what do you want to do? I haven't done anything to offend you, have I? But General Tu, you don't have to get up. Quickly lie down. General, what are you saying? You have always helped me, so how could you offend me? General, you don't have to think too much. You will recover in a few days. Come, try some of the lamb eggs. Sigh, for the sake of our friendship. General actually came despite the dangers of not being acclimatized to the climate. Zhang Xiaobao reached out and pressed down on Kutuyu's body as he was about to get up. He used a spoon to scoop up some egg lamb and blew on it before bringing it to Kutuyu's mouth. If it were someone else who didn't know the specific situation, they would really think that Zhang Xiaobao was inexplicably moved by Kutuyu. However, at this time one was lying down and one was sitting. They both understood what was going on. This time Kutuyu was really convinced. This Zhang Xiaobao could be so hypocritical. He could even talk nonsense in front of others. What else couldn't he do? Wei shook her head. Kutuyu didn't eat the egg lamb. Instead he stared at Zhang Xiaobao. After a while, Zhang Xiaobao still had the same sad expression of seeing a sick lord. However, Kutuyu gave up the idea of seeing an evasive look in Zhang Xiaobao's eyes. He said, Zhang Xiaobao, don't be so hypocritical. What are your plans for my Song Mo manor? Do you think that I won't be able to do anything if you get rid of everyone? Let me tell you, Zhang Xiaobao, as long as I still have a breath, I can still make a breakthrough. Yes, General. However, General, to you, you must not think too much. You will definitely live. When you reach the capital, you can recuperate and be vigorous again. You must not lose your confidence. Everyone hopes that General will recover soon. However, just talking is not enough. You must eat. Come, eat half a bowl. After eating, rest more. Don't think too much about other useless things. Zhang Xiaobao really looked like he was trying to coax a patient who was in a bad mood. However, Kutuyu was about to cry. This Zhang Xiaobao was really too shameless. He was lying through his teeth. He turned his head with all his strength, wanting to knock the spoon away. However, Zhang Xiaobao was one step ahead of him and moved the spoon away. Zhang Xiaobao, let's make things clear today. Why are you treating me like this? Don't argue with me. Chapter 8:17. When the birds are gone, the good bough is put away. When the cunning rabbit is dead, the hound is cooked. Governor Zhang, you and Adjunct Wang are truly formidable. You first stabilized the Tubo, and now you've dealt with the tribes of northern Hebei province. From the looks of it, you're planning to deal with the Turks as well. This general congratulates you in advance. But Tu propped up his weak body, looked at Zhang Xiaobao with a pitiful gaze, and said word by word, "Congratulations to you, congratulations to you." It turns out that General Kutuyu also knows how to burn the bridge after crossing the river, and get rid of the donkey after it has left the millstone. General isn't trying to persuade me to raise a thief for self-respect and quickly send General back, right? General, please eat slowly. I'll go out and teach General's words to Xiaobei and the others. Zhang Xiaobao said to Kutuyu indifferently. He no longer cared whether he could eat or not. Looking at Zhang Xiaobao's departing figure, Wei Wei's eyes welcomed the sunlight shining in through the door. Kutuyu ignored the piercing tears that fell from his eyes. Seeming to have thought of something happy, the corners of Wei Wei's mouth curled up. When he turned his head back, he picked up the bowl and began to eat in big mouthfuls. The weather was getting colder. After the autumn harvest, the river became busier. The 40,000-strong army was stuck in the middle of the originally wide river, unable to pass through the surging Yellow River. Order the ships in front to change to small boats. From Dingping to the small river, pass Sanshui County and enter the capital. Along the way, ensure that the troops are provided with food and drink and deepen the relationship between the army and the people. When Wang Wan heard the news from the front, she issued a new order, emphasizing the relationship between the army and the people. These words were for the generals who stayed on the ship to hear. The person in charge of delivering the news understood that the operation had begun and hurriedly left. Wang Wan turned around and said to the helpless and angry generals who knew about the unforeseen event in their homeland, "Everyone, the new year is coming. If we do our best to return, it will definitely be tiring. There's not enough time, so why don't we celebrate the new year in the capital and go to Mount Hua to enjoy the snow?" No one responded. The generals looked at Wang Wan with unkind eyes, as if they wished they could eat Wang Wan alive. Wang Wan didn't care how much others hated her. She didn't say anything when she saw them. She hummed a song and went to find Zhang Xiaobao. "Xiaobao, they hate me so much. Li Longji is not bad. He knows how to cooperate with us. With this, at least a third of the 40,000 people will be able to survive. That's quite a force to be reckoned with." When they see how the people of Sanshui County live, they will reconsider their original way of life. This winter, the off-season vegetables in Sanshui County will not be overstocked. Let them eat it and let them know that the Tang Empire can also eat vegetables in winter. Wang Wan found Zhang Xiaobao, who was hiding in the cabin and writing with his head down, and happily said to him, "Oh," Zhang Xiaobao replied. Wang Wan poured herself a cup of water and held it in her hands. She looked in the direction of Sanshui County and said, "Xiaobao, I haven't been back for a long time. What do you think Shuangzi is like now? If they can hear the sound of reading on the shore and the smoke from the small building rising into the fog when they pass by, won't it scare them again?" "Oh," Zhang Xiaobao replied. "Also, the lotus seeds in the pond are hanging their heads shyly. The reeds by the lake are covered in frost. Isn't it beautiful?" Wang Wan continued asking. "Oh," Zhang Xiaobao replied. "What are you doing? I'm asking you a question." Wang Wan was dissatisfied. Oh, I'm listening. The smoke from the small building rising into the fog is not good. It's easy to get respiratory diseases. The lotus seeds should have been cut long ago. Otherwise, they would all fall into the water. It's the right time to eat lotus roots. Zhang Xiaobao reacted quickly. He raised his head and looked at Wang Wan. "What are you busy with?" Wang Wan didn't care about what Zhang Xiaobao said. She moved closer to take a look. "I'm busy with the rebellion." I'm looking for a suitable place to start the army. The best place is Jinchuan. Zhang Xiaobao moved his body away and pointed at the map to Wang Wan. Wang Wan looked at the map. It was indeed Tubo's Jinchuan. You want to be the emperor. Yes, it's impossible not to be the emperor. Child Zhu Zan Mo Jilian. And Kutuyu will definitely praise our army there. It's good there. There are mountains and rivers, and the yield of barley is high. Can be said that we can attack or retreat. Zhang Shuashuo, who has escaped the wheel of history and still hasn't been ousted, Wu Huifei, who has watched other people's children grow up and can't hurt them, and there are also other people with bad intentions. Can we cooperate with them and not rebel? Zhang Xiaobao touched the Jinchuan line and said faintly. After hearing Zhang Xiaobao's complaints, Wang Wan laughed. Serves you right. Who asked you to solve everything at once and prepare to give up the place? Yes, give it to Li Longji. We'll continue to head northwest. The Darim Basin is not bad. Who said that the Anxi Protectorate should be given to others? We'll go and take it. In any case, Li Longji can't control it. Perhaps after the sword meet on Mount Hua, the great Tang people will go to the Potala Palace like a tourist. Oh, it's called the Red Mountain Palace. Why should we give it to the Tibetan Buddhists? Now is the best time to take it. How much money is wasted there every year? Let's not talk about religion. You can choose not to believe it, but you can't talk about it, Wang Wan hurriedly persuaded. Why can't I talk about it? No one is more sacred than the other. I've decided that the Red Mountain Palace will not be allowed to have any religion in the future. Once they make a move, we'll give up the Jinchuan line. If Li Longji still wants to expand, then we'll continue to head northwest. I think he will support us. He can't wait for us to occupy the Mediterranean Sea in one go. There is a lot of oil there, so we can extract it all. We can find a place near the capital and dig a big hole. We can pour the stones in for future generations. Zhang Xiaobao began to paint a picture of the future. Wang Wan was so amused that she hugged Zhang Xiaobao's arm and giggled. Even if you flood the capital, it won't be able to hold the oil. Where do we take it? Where do we use it? Slaves bought from Tubo. When we're old, can our future generations still hold on? How many Chinese are there in the world? How many countries recognize China? Singapore, Indonesia, the Philippines, and other countries. Do the Chinese recognize them? Back then, England was called the empire where the sun never sets. What about now? In the face of time and power, everything will change. I'll use the slaves for now. I don't care what happens in the future. As long as I'm alive, I'll do what I want to do. What's that saying again? When the world is divided for a long time, it must be united. And when united for a long time, it must be divided. Now that the great Tang has me, I'll do my best to bully others. What does it have to do with me? Right, it has nothing to do with you. You're a good person, a very good person, so good that you use your will to judge others. Then we'll use the slaves first and spend a lot of money on roads. Will we be in the capital this new year? In the capital. We'll bring our parents over to celebrate the new year together. Next year I'll think of a way to get a job near the capital. Xiaobei and the others can't always be away from their parents. You should help us choose a good job. My father will be in the capital next year. I think Li Longji will give him a minor rank 1 official, but his actual position will be at rank 3. We'll see what Li Longji and the others think about Jili province. If they want to give it away, we'll have the people of Jili province continue north and occupy Moh. Where can we find a good official like me? I'm a pillar of the country. After I die, I should go to Babaishan, the type that gathers the flag. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he used a pen to draw a spot on the map that he wanted to occupy. Wang Wan pinched Zhang Xiaobao's face. Thick as expected. If all the officials of the Great Tang are like you, Li Longji will be worried to death. You're giving up the land, but you're taking the people with you. Northeast, northwest, and south, holding a large number of soldiers and shouting loyalty. What is it that you're loyal to? Of course it's my people, the Chinese people. Help me think of something. There are too many things to do, and I'm afraid that I'll be confused and forget. Build a training base. When the conscripts reach the age limit, send them to the training base first, in case they can't find a job after they return from the army. We can't make the same mistake that others have made before. When another rain fell and the weather turned cold again, the generals from the north of Hebei province finally stood on the land of Sanshui County. Their faces were as gloomy as the weather. The troops could not be contacted. Looking around, it was all the protection teams of the Zhang family and the Wang family. The wharf of Little Luoshui was still bustling with activity. Carriages and horses came and went without stopping. Pedestrians jostled shoulder to shoulder, and the sound of hawking rose one after another. General Kutu, have you had a good rest recently? Over there is the first restaurant in Linshui. The chef's skills are good. Why don't you go and try it? Ever since Zhang Xiaobao's feet stepped on this land, his whole demeanor changed. He had a feeling that the world was so big, and who else could do it but him? He was full of confidence when he spoke to Kutu's-day. Kutu of course understood why he was like this. If it was the commander-in-chief's mansion of Songamo, he would not be worse than Zhang Xiaobao. Who didn't know that Sanshui County was the foundation of the Zhang family and the Wang family? Thank you, Governor Zhang, for taking care of me along the way. If Governor Zhang lost somewhere else, would you still have the face to come back? Kutu clenched his teeth and said, Come back, of course I'll come back. I'm not Xiangyu. Why should I be afraid of losing? I don't care about face. There is only hope as long as I'm alive. General Kutu, please take care. After Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking to Kutu, he pulled over a child who was running like crazy. He took out a piece of candy and stuffed it into his mouth. Before the child was about to spit out the candy in his mouth in fright, he said, I am the young master of the Zhang family, Zhang Xiaobao. After knowing that no one dared to pretend to be a member of the Zhang family in Sanshui, the child raised his head and smiled sweetly at Zhang Xiaobao. You're back. I'm back. Zhang Xiaobao grabbed another handful of candy. Chapter 8:18. What you hear may be false, but seeing is believing. Zizhen, who followed Zhang Xiaobao's group here, finally witnessed the richness of Great Tang. In the past, he had always heard the people he sent to Great Tang talking about how good Great Tang was. However, Zizhen, who had never seen it with his own eyes, felt that Great Tang was only slightly better than Tubo in certain aspects. For example, the clothes worn by the people and the more comfortable environment. As for the food, he felt that the difference between the two places was not that big. If Zhang Xiaobao was not so bad and reduced the food supply of Tubo, Great Tang would not be worse than Great Tang. After traveling by boat all day, Zizhen finally realized the difference between Tubo and Great Tang when they could travel by land after arriving at Sanshui County. Stepping on the firm ground, looking at the helpers at the docks wearing the same style and color of clothes, looking at the spacious and clean streets, he did not notice any slightly bigger holes on the road. This was probably the cement road that the person who sent back the news mentioned. Looking at the people who were arranged to sell food, they were all clean and tidy. Most of the food they sold was of an unknown variety. The carriages in charge of transporting goods and people came and went without stopping. The shops by the roadside were neat and tidy. The people walking here had smiles on their faces. Children carrying beautiful backpacks of unknown use stood in a row under the lead of their adults. All the carriages made way for them. The never-before-seen shelves used to load and unload goods moved piles of goods around at an unimaginable speed. In just a short while, a boat full of goods was loaded or unloaded. Sitting in the carriage that was specially prepared for them, they realized that it was many times better than the carriage they were in before. The bumps were almost negligible. After walking for more than a li, the houses on both sides of the wide road were even more attractive. Other than the various restaurants and shops, the people lived in small two-story buildings. The river that the small boats passed through had a sloping embankment. It was as flat as a mirror and there was not a single bit of trash on the river. Listening to the cries of chickens and ducks, There was no smell of feces when a gust of wind blew. No one would casually find a place to poop or pee. This was an inconceivable thing in Tubo. On the shore, there were pavilions built at intervals, surrounded by plants. Occasionally, the aroma of food wafted out from the pavilions. Pedestrians would occasionally stop to rest in the pavilions and buy some snacks to eat. After the autumn harvest, there were still people busy plowing the land. Those strong and healthy cattle looked like they were from Tubo no matter how one looked at them. Further on, at a little distance from the shore, there was an open space surrounded by low walls, in which books with fallen leaves fluttered in the wind. From this height, one could see that in the enclosed space, there was a pond surrounded by pavilions. Under the sunshine, a group of children were sitting or leaning in the corridor, chanting in unison. There's a guest, there's a guest, there's a white horse. There is prosperity and prosperity. And the journey is meticulous. We have guests, we have guests, we have letters. Watching and listening, Zhu Zan was frightened by what he saw and heard. Sitting in the carriage, Princess Jincheng looked at all of this with her beautiful eyes. She had not been back for a long time. She did not expect to see such a scenery. It was definitely not fake to confuse others. It was all real. There was actually a fairyland-like place in Tang Dynasty. Xiaobei, what's over there? Princess Jincheng asked the question that Zhu Zan wanted to ask but was too embarrassed to ask. Xiaobei was accompanying the carriage as a diplomat. When he heard Princess Jincheng's question, he turned his head and looked. It was a big courtyard. He generously introduced it. Princess Ant, that's a school. They are learning very seriously. It's almost lunchtime, they should be revising the knowledge that they just learned. Lunchtime. I don't see anyone delivering food. Princess Jincheng had stayed in Tubo for a long time. She was not clear about the lives of the people in Tang Dynasty. Or it could be said that she did not remember that the people in Tang Dynasty ate lunch at this time. Usually there were 2 meals. The smart Xiaobei immediately understood. He proudly looked at Zhu Zan and replied, Princess Ant, no one is delivering food. I think the food is already ready. I'll get someone to bring some over to take a look. Stop the carriage. Someone go to that school and say that Zhang Xiaobei from Zhangzhe Zhuangzi wants a lunch. After giving the order, Xiaobei introduced, Princess Ant, the meals of the students here are taken care of by the merchants of Sanshui County. The merchants will take out a portion of the money to be used to feed and dress the children. That's 4 meals a day. We will eat in a while. Soon we will reach the place where we eat. Oh, they can actually eat 4 meals a day. Ant only eats 4 meals a day over there. It seems that the officials in the county are very strict with the merchants. Princess Jincheng was very surprised. Tubo did not have such a school. The management of Sanshui County is not bad. However, the merchants are willing to take the money. No one forced them. The merchants of Sanshui County are very cultured. They are not heartless. After they earn money, they know how to use it for public welfare. In the past, it was our family who forked out the money. Now the school is being renovated by them. Princess Ant, look at the wall. There are words. Let me take a look. It says that the country is strong from a child. It strengthens the body and enlightens the mind. We have always been working hard. I can't see the words clearly. It should be the name of the merchant who took the money. Xiaobei's voice was sweet, causing a smile to appear on the face of the Princess of Jincheng. Hearing this, Zhu Zan felt his entire body turn cold, starting from his heart. If all of this was true, then what would Tubo use to fight against Great Tang in the future? More than 10 years later, when batches of children grow up, it would be too terrifying. Xiaobei introduced a few more words. The person who took the food came back with a tray in his hand. He passed it to Xiaobei through the window. Everyone in the carriage looked at the tray at the same time. Let me see what they are eating today. And it's not bad. 2 vegetarian dishes and 1 meat dish. This meat dish is soft-fried tenderloin. Brother's cooking is the best. This is stir-fried meat with garlic. This is scrambled eggs with cucumber. There's also half a salted duck egg. It's marinated well. It's buttery. I like to eat it the most. There's more. Why didn't you bring it over? Xiao Bei held the tray and introduced. The last sentence was directed at the people outside. Immediately, another person came over and brought a small bowl and a small plate. The soup has just been prepared. Xiao Bei continued to introduce. Let me see this soup. It's shrimp and winter melon soup. This small plate contains cut fruits. This is a fruit platter. This is called a nutritious combination. It can ensure the children's needs for an entire afternoon. Princess Ant, try it. The main dish is rice and steamed buns. At this moment, Zhu Zan could not help but smell the fragrance of the food. He asked Xiao Bei, "Do all the children eat this every afternoon?" "That's not it," Xiao Bei replied. Just as Zhu Zan heaved a sigh of relief, she said, "The dishes are different every afternoon. The same as 2 vegetarian dishes, 1 meat dish, 1 soup, and 1 fruit platter. You're not allowed to be picky. Today's timing is not good. If it's the 5th day, you can still eat the fragrant bone marrow." "Then how much does it cost?" "All for the children to eat." Zhu Zan saw that there was a lot of oil in the food and swallowed his saliva before asking. "It's worth it no matter how much money is spent. The food given to the child has to be of the best quality. Look at this rice, it's of the highest quality. Whoever dares to give poor quality food to the child will be severely punished if caught. This is called Operation Chaoyang. Many places in the Great Tang have started doing this. It won't be long before it spreads throughout the Great Tang." Even though Xiao Bei was young, she knew what Zhu Zanqi wanted to know. She was also willing to use all her strength to scare Zhu Zanqi. Zhu Zan could not help but pick up his chopsticks and put a mouthful of food into his mouth. He sighed inwardly. Taste was really good. He did not know what seasoning was used to make it so fragrant. Princess Jincheng also tasted the food. With a gratified smile on her face, she continued to ask Xiao Bei, "What do we eat for breakfast?" "Breakfast is simple. A bowl of milk or goat's milk, 2 eggs, salted vegetables mixed with sesame oil and cake. After 2 hours of class, we will give you red bean paste or bread with cream fillings and a cup of fruit juice. Occasionally, we can add some of the butter tea from Aunt Princess. Because it's far away, we don't have much here. Brother and sister said that we have to think of ways to get more from Tubo. If Tubo does not agree, we can just snatch it. This is called a snack, not a proper meal." Xiao Bei continued to attack Zhu Zan until the end. At this moment, Zhu Zan was already numb. He no longer wanted to compare himself with the Tang Empire. As for Xiao Bei's threat, he pretended not to hear it. Chapter 8:19. The internet was disconnected last night. He just called and it connected. A loud and clear sound lingered in Ji Hao's ears, as a human-shaped target about 130 steps away had a large hole in its arm. Li Longji picked up the binoculars and looked at it. He shook his head regretfully and said to Gao Lisher, who was standing beside him, "It can shoot farther and harder than a pistol. Takes longer than a bow to find the target, aim, shoot, reload and reload. What do you think?" Gao Lisher also had a gun in his hand. After aiming for a while, he didn't dare to shoot because the wind was strong. He was afraid that he would shoot too far away from the target and make the emperor think that he was going easy on him. He was also afraid that he would accidentally shoot the head of the target. Hearing the emperor's voice, Ling Ji lowered the muzzle of the gun and finally shot between the target's legs, piercing through the wooden planks used to block the target's back. He secretly sighed in relief and replied, "This gun has a longer range than a bow and arrow. Moreover, it is easier to carry the bullets. It is more accurate than a bow and arrow in strong winds. I think we should make more and equip more troops." Li Longji nodded slightly and reloaded his gun. This time he didn't really aim and just casually fired based on his feelings. He actually hit the target's neck. Picking up the binoculars, he looked at the hole in the target's neck and nodded with satisfaction. This is also a skilled job. This time, Xiao Bao wants to show it to Imojilian and Zhu Zizan. I wonder if they will be on guard and find a way to deal with the new weapon. Your Majesty, if not, when can we pacify the surrounding small countries? According to Xiao Bao, the world is big. There should be a result. What is more important is the etiquette of Zhu Zizan and Qida when they meet Your Majesty. Does Your Majesty really want to be on equal footing with them? Gao Lisher didn't mention how to prevent the other party from finding a way to deal with the new weapon because he still had more powerful weapons that he didn't take out. He planned to use them in the sword competition. At this time, the most important thing was to see the etiquette of the Tubo and Turkic monarchs. Li Longji also knew that he couldn't treat the Tubo and Turkic monarchs like how he treated the Khitans. Seeing that the monarchs of the two countries were coming, face was very important. He said to Gao Lisher, "Order the Ministry of Rights to come up with a few plans. When the two of them arrive, we will act according to plan." On the way, Zuzan Chide was also considering this matter. He wasn't willing to bow to Li Longji when they arrived at the great Tang's capital. He wanted to be neither servile nor overbearing so as not to throw the face of Tubo. Otherwise, if they really fought in the future, their morale would be gone. Although the soldiers didn't have much morale when they heard that Wang Wan was in charge, they still didn't have much morale. The conditions of the accommodation last night were not bad, but the reception was not good. The imperial court in the capital did not send extra people over, nor did they send a guard of honor to receive them. There were no officials from the Ministry of Rights, but it could not be said that there were no officials. There were 9, appointed at the last minute. Zhang Xiaobei and the others were one of them. "Zanpu, shouldn't we protest to the great Tang imperial court? They dared to disrespect us and didn't even send officials from the Bureau of Rights. They clearly looked down on us." Just as Zhu Zan was about to leave and get on the carriage, a palace official beside him voiced his dissatisfaction. "Assistant Minister Zhang and the other 9 are not officials from the Ministry of Rights. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sent their younger siblings to greet us. How are they looking down on us? Could it be that their status is not high enough?" Zhu Zan really wanted to protest to the palace officials, but he didn't dare to do so. If he really protested, it wouldn't be the great Tang looking down on Tubo. It would be Tubo looking down on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. These two were like lunatics, capable of doing anything. If they were unhappy, they might not go to the capital and turn around to lead their troops back to Tubo. And all of these could happen. The Tubo officials who followed them only mentioned a few words to express their stand. If they really wanted him to protest, he wouldn't dare to do so. He bowed to Zhu Zan and started a new day's journey. Xiaobei was still acting as a tour guide, answering the questions of the Tubo guests at any time and place. He was very familiar with this. This was how a diplomatic talent was like. The curtains of the car window were raised. As the group walked along the river, they could see the beautiful scenery. Princess Jincheng had a good sleep yesterday. She dreamt of herself before she got married. She dreamt of catching butterflies with the company of palace maids when she was young. When she woke up, her eyes were filled with tears. Now that she was sitting in the carriage, looking at the floating clouds in the sky through the window, she felt a little absent-minded. She stared at a large courtyard and saw people busily walking in and out. Her eyes were in a daze. Xiaobei was still inexperienced and thought that Princess Jincheng was curious about that place. He introduced it to her. "Princess Aunt, that place is a cooked food processing factory. It's the smoked pig trotters and pickled mutton. When it's done, it will be sent to some places in the county. I haven't tried it before, so I think the taste is ordinary. In a while, when it's close to noon, you can go to Zhuangzi. You can taste the authentic and delicious smoked chicken there. The scenery there is better than here." Brother said that he has arranged a very interesting entertainment program for you, but don't go to the heavenly world there to play. It's not interesting at all. Sister said that it's specially prepared for those who are looking for trouble. "Oh, what kind of place is that?" Princess Jincheng was awakened by Xiaobei's words and asked curiously. "Just for fun. Yesterday was sad, today was sad, and tomorrow was sad. There's also sister's poem. Xiao Yuan, come here. What's with the heavenly world? You don't have to come up. Quickly tell me. When Xiaobei was introducing it, she was worried. She didn't remember what Wang Wan wrote and shouted out the window. She called Xiao Yuan over but didn't let her get in the carriage. Xiao Yuan angrily glared at Xiaobei and recited, outside the curtain, the rain is murmuring, the spring is waning. Luo Qin can't stand the cold. In the dream, he doesn't know he's a guest. He indulges in pleasure. Alone, he doesn't lean on the railings. He passes the mountains without limit. It's easy to leave but difficult to see. The flowing water falls, the flowers go, the heavenly world. After reciting it, he didn't wait for Xiaobei to catch him. He ran to the back of the carriage and sat down. He swung his legs and looked at the flowing water. He really looked like a scholar. That's right. In the dream, he doesn't know he's a guest, he doesn't know. Princess Jincheng heard a similar feeling and sighed helplessly. She didn't know what to think, but her eyes became confused again. Zhu Zan was very surprised. He didn't expect that such a sentence would come from Wang Wan's mouth. He thought that she would kill people. He suddenly thought of something and asked Xiaobei, since it's cooking, it's natural to use fire. Why can't we see a lot of smoke? Zhang Xiaobao was trying to eat the ginger that she didn't like. She didn't sleep well last night and caught a cold. When she heard Zhu Zan's question, she swallowed the ginger in her mouth and frowned. It wasn't clear whether it was because it was spicy or because she didn't like the ginger. She explained. Without firewood and coal, there's naturally no smoke. There are a lot of people working there. Also, they collect all kinds of feces and other things from the surroundings to make a methane pool. It's just enough to make a fire for cooking. Not only do workshops use it, but many people also use it. Now that it's cold, the methane pool produces less methane. If it's summer, there will be countless flames swaying at night on both sides of the river to light up people who come out to play at night. When Xiaobei said this, Zhu Zan remembered that there was such a piece of information. Many places in the Tang Empire, especially the places south of the Yellow River, used methane. It was a very magical thing. Unfortunately, there was no cement. Even if they found a pond and inserted a bamboo pipe to produce methane, it wouldn't be safe to use it. The Tang Empire didn't sell cement. It was hard to imagine. As they walked, they talked. When Xiaobei's mouth was dry and she regretted being a tour guide, the group finally arrived at Tuqiao village. Under the clear sky, the Gu family's Zhuangzi and the Wang family's Zhuangzi came into view first. Further away, there was a hazy fog. There were small bridges and flowing water, winding corridors, green mountains, smoky buildings, clear sounds of books, and the sound of birds chirping. It was simply a paradise on earth. Those who had never been here before felt like they were in a dream. Aunt Princess, this is my home. Actually, I haven't been here many times, but I feel that it's very good. In a while, let's go to Between the Clouds and the Water in front to eat. It's the flagship store Between the Clouds and the Water. Xiaobei's voice woke up Princess Jincheng, who was immersed in the dreamlike scenery. She pointed to the foggy area in front and asked curiously, "Why is there fog there?" Zhu Zan also looked like he was waiting for Xiaobei to explain. There are many ways. You can use ice, you can boil water, and there's also a special water sprayer. It's very expensive. Brother and sister said that there's another way, which is to use pressure. They can't do it yet, and they don't know how to do it either. Then there will be fog. You can even make it rain as long as there are clouds. Xiaobei was counting his fingers as he spoke. It seemed like he was trying to calculate how much a day of fog would cost, but in the end, he couldn't do it. Zhu Zan believed the first part of the words, but he snorted at the latter part. Make it rain. Did he really think that he was a god? However, he didn't have any objections to going to Between the Clouds and the Water to eat. It was said that Between the Clouds and the Water in Sanshui County was the best. He finally had a chance to see if it was better than his own palace. Just as everyone wanted to enter Between the Clouds and the Water to take a look, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came over and invited everyone to play in the mountains for 2 hours. When they came back they could eat more. They said that there was hunting for entertainment. They also told Zhu Zan that Emojilian had also come for 2 days to participate. Chapter 8:20. After the meal, Zhu Zan, who was invited to the mountain, saw Emojilian, who had been waiting for a long time. It could be seen that Emojilian had been living a good life recently. At least there was no problem in terms of rest and food. The only thing lacking was his spirit. Zhu Zan could understand his feelings. When he came to Sanshui County, he saw a different way of life. What kind of life did the people of Tang live? What kind of life did the people of Tubo and Turks live? Comparing the two, it was obvious who was better. Zhu Zan suggested at the last minute. When they went to the supermarket together, they saw a dazzling array of goods. Necessities, clothes, food, drinks, big and small. When winter came, the supermarket was full of people. Looking at the women in ordinary clothes choosing a good piece of meat, looking at the happy faces of the children buying fresh fruits, looking at the green and thorny cucumbers, one could imagine the standard of living of the people in the supermarket. He really wanted to fight from the border to the capital, to take back all the good things of Tang and give them to the people under his rule. But it was just a thought. Tubo did not have the strength to attack Tang. Tang was already thankful that they did not send troops. Not to mention the Turks, the situation was not stable. Tang had increased the number of troops at the border. Just the number of armored horses had reached more than 20,000. If the grassland was not afraid of horses with poor running speed and endurance, then the light cavalry raised by the Feng province was like a battle knife with half of its blade exposed. There are more and more light cavalry of Fengzhou. Zhu Zan found an opportunity to approach Emojilian and said casually. Emojilian's face was heavy. It doesn't matter how many light cavalry of Fengzhou there are, but I am afraid that they are under someone's command. Jin Chuan heard that there are many caravans coming and going, so they should congratulate. The two of them said nothing more. Their meaning was very clear. Neither of them was stronger than the other. It was only because the great Tang had a pair of madmen who did things for the sole purpose of achieving their goals and did not consider the effects of other aspects. Silence became the two people's best weapon. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan couldn't care less about the thoughts of the two people who were about to fall. In order to let the two of them know their identities when they met Li Longji, they had to organize this hunting operation properly. Climbing the mountain, sightseeing, looking at the lake in the middle of the valley, looking at the bleak winter leaves on the mountain, and then savoring the unpredictability of the drifting clouds, the group arrived at the hunting ground. There were no large wild animals in the mountains behind Zhongjia Zhuangzi. It was impossible for Zhang Xiaobao to transport wild animals from other places for people to hunt. More than 1,000 chickens that were about to become food were placed in a valley. There they were running around in search of something to eat. Emojilian thought that Zhang Xiaobao would find a flat place where the horses could gallop and compare riding and shooting skills, such as hunting a bear or encircling a deer. Now he saw a flock of chickens. Was it to see who could kill the chickens? Just as he was wondering, Zhang Xiaobao took out more than a dozen spears and distributed them to Mojilian, Zhu Zan, and the people close to them. He explained to them, "When we were at Feng Chan, guns appeared. At that time we used short spears which had a short range. Recently long spears appeared, which have a longer range than short spears. We used these long spears to kill a few chickens." How to shoot and how to load the bullets was naturally taught to Zhu Zan and the others. Holding the spear in his hand, Zhu Zan was not sure how powerful the spear was. Looking at the scattered chickens in the valley, he felt that it was a bit far, more than 300 steps away. If it was arrows, only a few people in the army could pull a strong bow. Seeing that Zhang Xiaobao did not intend to continue to move forward, he wondered if this iron pipe could shoot so far away. "In order to make you understand, I will arrange someone to show you how to use the spear. Guards, come, there is an enemy in front, shoot at will." Zhang Xiaobao took off the spear on his back and pushed in a bullet. He ordered the people behind him who had already been ready. 200 people were ready to shoot at the same time. After the order was given, the sound of gunshots echoed in the valley. Listening to the continuous sounds, it was even denser than the sound of firecrackers. When Zhu Zan and Emojilian's ears were buzzing, they saw the chickens in the valley being killed one by one. The distance of 300 steps seemed to be unable to stop Yama's soul-summoning order at all. It's too chaotic, this accuracy. After Emojilian was scared, he suddenly felt that the accuracy of the weapon in his hand should not be as good as the bow and arrow. Listening to the sounds, it was already past the time to light 1,000 firecrackers, and there were still more than half of the chickens left. He thought that there was no need to be afraid. Zhu Zan also had the same idea, and the two of them could be considered to be of the same mind. However, just as the idea came into his mind, he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan take action. The guns they used seemed to be a little different from the others. There was an extra box under the guns. Seeing that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were aiming at the chickens that were suddenly attacked and flew halfway up the mountain, Zhu Zan and Emojilian picked up the binoculars lent to them and watched carefully. With a bang, a chicken that had just flapped its wings and flew 2 feet into the air fell down. Then, the gunshots of the two men rang out one after another. After every gunshot, a chicken would fall down. Because the two people were aiming at different places from the others, it was clear that the two people were shooting one after another. Suddenly, a few birds that were frightened by the gunshots flew over randomly, wanting to pass through the opposite valley and find a safe place. Unfortunately, before they could fly far, with a bang, a bird disappeared, followed by a few more gunshots. There were a total of 6 birds, and none of them were lucky enough to escape. Emojilian couldn't help but look at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were shooting beside him. He saw that the two people's guns moved slightly and fired almost at the same time. Emojilian quickly looked over with the binoculars and saw that the 2 flying chickens' heads exploded at the same time, continuing to fly and smashing into the withered grass. Emojilian's hands trembled. He didn't have time to wipe the sweat on his forehead, but the clothes on his back were already wet and stuck to his body uncomfortably. They were too accurate. They shot one chicken head after another, not to mention humans. If everyone had the same accuracy as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, 300 steps was the line of death. Beside them, Zhu Zan, who had been living on the plateau without any problems, suddenly felt that he had altitude sickness. His breathing was rapid and his head was dizzy, as if he would lose consciousness in the next moment. The gunshots gradually stopped. Now, less than 100 of the 1,000 chickens were alive and kicking, and they were all on this side of the valley. It was probably because it was not easy to attack which allowed them to escape. Just when they thought that they had found the flaw of Tang's new weapon, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan reloaded and pulled the triggers at the chickens that had just escaped. When the barley moved slightly, there would be a gunshot, and then the moving area would become quiet. When a chicken poked its head out from a certain place, it would also be killed with a gunshot. No matter what the remaining chickens did, as long as they appeared in the field of vision, they were destined to not be able to escape. Only when the cowardly chicken hid in a certain place and didn't show its head again did the hunt come to an end. I'm getting old. I haven't practiced for a long time. There were many opportunities to kill 2 with 1 shot, but I actually missed it. Zhang Xiaobao said to Zhu Zan and Emojilian, who had not fired a single shot. Emojilian and Zhu Zan were numb with fear. They knew that it was an invitation to hunt, but it was actually a threat. They wanted to let them know that if Tang really wanted to attack the Turks and Tibetans, these 2 places would not be able to resist at all. With a team of 1,000 people, and with the accuracy of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, even if the Turks and Tibetans worked together, they would not be able to defeat them. Zhu Zan, Mojilian, why don't you 2 try? Zhang Xiaobao did not even use honorifics when addressing the leaders of the 2 countries. Strength determined everything. Mojilian swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva, but still felt that his throat was dry. He nodded, raised the gun in his hand, found a target and pulled the trigger. After shooting, He picked up the binoculars and found that he did not know where to shoot. When he was about to fire a second shot, he realized that his gun was different from the one used by Zhang Xiaobao and Mo Jilian. He used that thing called bullets that needed to be reloaded after each shot, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could shoot continuously. Thinking about the sharpness of this weapon and thinking about Zhang Xiaobao and Mo Jilian's abilities, Mo Jilian really wanted to reload a bullet and shoot at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's heads. After Mo Jilian and Zhu Zan fired a few shots with inexplicable thoughts, they had different expressions. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao asked his people to put away the guns and smiled at Zhu Zan and Mo Jilian. Tomorrow, there will be officials from the Ministry of Rights coming to the capital to discuss with your people about the etiquette when entering the capital. His Majesty heard that you two could come and was very happy. He is preparing to reward you too. Zhu Zan and Mo Jilian's originally ugly expressions became worse. No wonder they wanted to hunt today, they wanted to confirm their identities. It seemed that Li Longji did not intend to be on the same level as them. Chapter 8:21. After accompanying the two leaders of Tubo and Tujue for a hunting game, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's reception work was considered done. The imperial court sent officials and guards from the Ministry of Rights. Zizhenchide and Mo Jilian also sent people to contact them. After eating a big meal between the clouds and the water, they got on the carriage and headed towards the capital. Xiao Bei accompanied them all the way to the border between Sanshui County and Huayuan County. He opened his arms and watched the team leave. He looked at the sky and saw that the sky was high and the clouds were light. He seemed to have a melancholy feeling and murmured, let's go, let's go. Don't always be in a hurry. And there is no banquet that lasts forever. When one group leaves, I hope there will be another." Xiao Yuan also looked at him. He didn't know that Xiao Bei's melancholy was not because of parting, but because with Zizhenchide entering the capital, there was no need for Xiao Bei here. Xiao Bei went from the Minister of Foreign Affairs to a member of the CPPCC. He was obviously not used to it. He thought that Xiao Bei didn't want to be separated from Princess Jincheng, so he advised, "Life is like the floating clouds, there is no route. Wherever the wind blows, the clouds will fly there. But no matter what, the sky has left traces of the clouds and the sound of the wind. Look at it lightly. Perhaps parting is the beginning of reunion. That is not sentimental. Just like a red maple leaf, it is ripe. Don't talk nonsense in front of me. It's annoying. If I leave like this, I will start playing with a bunch of kids again. No one will listen to me anymore. I have decided that I will find my own happiness. I will immediately hold a meeting to discuss the recent work and censor matters. You organize it." Xiao Bei really thought it through. He wanted to make full use of the team's advantages and start a new chapter. Xiao Yuan was obviously still worried about the wind and clouds and didn't understand Xiao Bei's meaning. Seeing Xiao Bei staring at him, he just needed to express his opinion. "I agree with Xiao Bei's suggestion. Should the censors' meeting continue to target the people who eat more? The role of the tripping rope should be played more." "Are you stupid? What do you mean by eating more? This is the internal affairs of the great Tang, and we shouldn't keep looking into the distance. There are also problems that need to be solved around us. Sitting in the position of imperial censor, we have to play a corresponding role and think of a way to get on the road earlier. Sanshui County won't be able to find fault with us." Xiao Bei's mental fortitude was not bad. He quickly found a way to leave the CPPCC and prepared to enter the Discipline Inspection Commission. His authority would eventually return. Xiao Yuan, who was slower to react, was stunned for a moment. It was not easy for him to understand the leader's intention. His eyes lit up, and he excitedly pulled Xiao Bei. "Who do you want to impeach? Do you have a target? You have to find the target yourself. Stupid, it's time for the meeting. You're in charge of informing the others." Xiao Bei clasped his hands behind his back, turned around, and slowly moved away like a cloud in the sky. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't have the slightest attachment to Zhu Zan. The two of them didn't want to waste any more energy on such a boring reception. At this time, the two of them were still on the mountain. Zhang Xiaobao broke off a branch from somewhere and put it in his mouth and chewed hard, trying to bite out the fiber of the branch that was not wet in the first place. Wang Wan, on the other hand, had a gloomy face. Looking at the 200 members of the protection team who had participated in the hunting operation, the 200 people clearly felt a kind of oppression before the storm. 200 people, 1,000 chickens, used more than 6,000 bullets, and nearly 200 of them were shot down by Zhang Xiaobao and me. Before coming here, I wrote a letter to ask you to practice hard, and this is what you've done. You used the best guns, and I asked you to choose the most suitable gun for you. Do you know the consequences of killing an opponent with 7 bullets? Wang Wan's face was about to drip water. She questioned the 200 people who were feeling very satisfied just a moment ago. Little girl, in the past training it was always 200 steps. This time it suddenly became 300 steps. It's a little far, so. A person in the team stood up and explained to Wang Wan in a low voice. Just as he said this, Wang Wan suddenly took off the gun on her back and raised her hand to knock down a mountain civet that was watching the show more than 400 steps away. Is 300 steps very far? Your guns are specially made, and the effective range is 420 to 450 meters. I trained you as snipers to shoot moving targets, but you actually need 7 bullets to kill an enemy. 7 bullets, 7 bullets. Do you know the consequences of fighting against a real enemy? Wang Wan was even angrier when she thought of this number. She had always wanted to train the best snipers, but these 200 people were really disappointing. With this kind of accuracy, if it were her and Zhang Xiaobao, they would have been killed long ago. Which real sniper would leave 7 bullets for the opponent to adjust? Will the enemy be released? The person who came out to explain whispered. Yes, this is not your fault. At this time Zhang Xiaobao spoke. He waved his hand to dismiss the team, spat out the stick that was bitten into fiber in his mouth, and came to Wang Wan's side and said, "Shooting also requires talent. If everyone can become a sniper, the sniper selection will not be so strict. Find more people and slowly choose." 300 steps is not considered a sniper. Ordinary people should have practiced it and strengthened the training. What about Xiaobei? I saw that she was not in a good mood when she left. Wang Wan did not continue to force them. Suddenly, she remembered Xiaobei, who accompanied Princess Jincheng when she left. At this moment, a messenger hurriedly ran up from the foot of the mountain to deliver the news. "Young master, young lady Xiaobei asked me to inform the two of you that they have left for Huayuan. They said that they will leave 2 days early and will wait for the two of you there. That you're tuning in to the Whispers of Romance YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."